Let's go Dolphins! What if I told you the Dolphins might be about to make the most shocking coaching change in the entire NFL? A move so bold it could redefine the franchise's future for the next decade. That's right, John Harbaugh, the Super Bowl winning coach, is officially available, and the Miami Dolphins are right in the middle of the storm. The pressure is mounting, the speculation is real, and league pundits are saying the same thing. Mike McDaniel's job may be hanging by a thread. But would Stephen Ross really fire McDaniel now to go after Harbaugh? And what would that mean for the team's future? But before we dive into this crazy scenario, and believe me, it gets crazier, click the like button only if you're a true Dolphins fan, ready to see this team finally win the title. And if your heart bleeds turquoise and orange, leave a comment right now saying, "Go Dolphins! We can make it to the Super Bowl." Now, let's analyze what's really going on. So, what's the big fuss about John Harbaugh? He's not just any head coach. He's a Super Bowl champion, a former coach of the year, a man with a 60% winning percentage and a postseason record that actually holds weight. Harbaugh has led the Ravens to 4 AFC championship appearances and built a culture of consistency in one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL. And now, he's a free agent. Teams are lining up, and the Dolphins might just be in that queue. Here's the kicker. While the Dolphins haven't yet made any official announcement about McDaniel's status for 2026, Harbaugh's availability suddenly changes the entire landscape. Top insiders like Jordan Schultz, Josina Anderson, and Albert Breer are already linking Harbaugh to Miami. And Breer didn't mince words. He flat out said Harbaugh's firing could absolutely affect Mike McDaniel's job security and could push Stephen Ross to go all in. That's not speculation anymore. That's a real possibility. If Stephen Ross believes Harbaugh is the guy who can get us to the next level, McDaniel might be out faster than anyone expected. Here's what makes it even more intriguing. The Dolphins have officially requested an interview with Chargers assistant GM Chad Alexander, a man who's worked directly with both John and Jim Harbaugh. That can't be a coincidence. There's a growing belief that Miami is trying to position itself to pair Alexander with John Harbaugh, creating a powerful front office coaching combo. This kind of move is chess, not checkers. It signals that the Dolphins might be preparing to clean house and reset the entire organizational leadership. And look, let's be honest, Mike McDaniel is brilliant offensively, but brilliance doesn't always translate to playoff wins. His inability to make deep playoff runs is exactly why some fans are calling for change. It's not just about looking good in October. It's about winning in January and ultimately February. And Harbaugh? That's a coach who brings not just pedigree, but discipline, toughness, and a culture of accountability. The kind of culture Miami desperately needs if it wants to be a serious contender. Now, don't get me wrong, it won't be easy to land Harbaugh. He's already being courted by the New York Giants, the Atlanta Falcons, and possibly even the Las Vegas Raiders. The Giants, in particular, are reportedly making him their top target. So, Miami will have competition. But here's what could give us an edge: cap flexibility and a long-term vision. The Dolphins are projected to have over $100 million in cap space in 2027. Pair that with a potential top 5 draft pick and the ability to bring in a GM of Harbaugh's choosing. Now that's a package worth considering. And there's another important piece to this puzzle. If you're Stephen Ross, and you hear that Harbaugh would even be 25% interested in the job if McDaniel were gone, do you wait? Or do you move aggressively to secure one of the most successful head coaches of the last 2 decades? The answer seems pretty clear. What's fascinating here is that Harbaugh doesn't just bring coaching acumen, he brings control. He's the kind of veteran coach who wants a say in roster construction, who thrives when partnered with a GM he trusts. And with Chad Alexander in play, Miami could be setting the stage for exactly that kind of alignment. Let me make this crystal clear. Firing Mike McDaniel would be a massive move. But if it means opening the door to Harbaugh and launching a full-scale organizational transformation, it just might be worth it. And even if we swing and miss on Harbaugh, the coaching market this year is suddenly packed with quality candidates: Kevin Stefanski, Robert Saleh, Jesse Minter, Vance Joseph. There are strong pairings out there that could reshape this team's identity. Because this is where things start to get even more complex and even more interesting. If Stephen Ross does decide to make the move and fire Mike McDaniel, there's a real chance he's not just doing it to hire any available coach. The decision would be calculated, and it would almost certainly come down to timing, influence, and back-channel discussions. And the biggest clue? The Dolphins didn't just randomly ask to interview Chad Alexander. That's not a routine request. That's a signal. Alexander has direct ties to both Harbaugh brothers and has been embedded within 2 high-functioning organizations, the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers. If Ross is looking for stability and proven results, Alexander is a natural fit, and his presence could make the Dolphins a far more attractive destination for Harbaugh. Let's talk about why Harbaugh would even consider Miami in the first place. Sure, the team might struggle in 2026, especially if there's a roster reshuffle. But 2027? That's where the Dolphins could make a legitimate leap forward. With a mountain of cap space and draft capital, Harbaugh could help reshape this roster from top to bottom and do it with complete control over personnel decisions. That level of influence is something a veteran coach like Harbaugh would absolutely want. He's not going to sign up for a situation where he doesn't have a say. That's why pairing him with someone like Alexander, who understands how Harbaugh operates, would be critical. And here's another key point. This could be Harbaugh's last big NFL job. He's not going to waste that opportunity on a team that doesn't give him a real chance to win, or at the very least, rebuild in his image. Miami, for all its flaws, offers something unique: warm weather, no state income tax, a media-friendly market, a passionate fan base, and an owner willing to spend. Ross has never been shy about opening the checkbook when he believes it will make the team better. So, if Harbaugh sees Miami as a place where he can build something lasting, he might take the shot. And if he's even thinking about it, Ross has to act quickly. But what if the Dolphins miss out on Harbaugh? That's where the conversation takes a different turn. Because even without Harbaugh, firing Mike McDaniel could open the door to several intriguing head coach and GM pairings. As the file suggests, there are realistic scenarios where names like Jeff Hafley, Packers, Chris Shula, Rams, or Jesse Minter, Chargers, come into play, each potentially partnered with a strong GM candidate already on Miami's radar. These aren't just filler names. These are coaches with upside, discipline, and fresh ideas who could bring a new voice to the locker room. And maybe that's exactly what the Dolphins need. And while fans may be hesitant to part with McDaniel, the hard truth is this: he hasn't proven he can win in the postseason. He hasn't developed a culture that screams Super Bowl contender. He's a likable guy, sure, but likability doesn't win championships. Accountability does. Grit does. And John Harbaugh brings both in spades. Another point to consider: how does this impact the current roster? What does a potential coaching change mean for players like Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, or Jalen Ramsey? The reality is, if Harbaugh steps in, everyone gets evaluated from scratch. There's a very real possibility that Harbaugh would want to reshape the team in his own image, which could mean changes at quarterback or a more defense-first approach. That could be exactly what Miami needs, especially if the goal is to finally break through that playoff ceiling that's haunted this team for decades. And let's not overlook the urgency here. Other franchises are not waiting around. The Giants are moving aggressively. The Falcons, with an intriguing young core and both coach and GM vacancies, are in hot pursuit. If Miami drags its feet, it could miss its window entirely, not just for Harbaugh, but for other top-tier candidates who won't stay on the market long. This is a critical moment for Stephen Ross and the Dolphins front office. It's a time for bold moves, for decisive leadership. If Ross believes that Harbaugh is the guy to finally bring a Lombardi trophy to South Florida, then it's time to act, even if it means taking a gamble. Because the one thing worse than swinging and missing on Harbaugh is playing it safe, keeping McDaniel, and ending up stuck in the same cycle of early exits and unmet expectations. Dolphins fans, we're at a crossroads. There's a path forward that could finally lead us to greatness, but only if the organization is willing to take the leap. So now, we turn it over to you. Drop a comment below and let us know. Do you want to see Stephen Ross go all in on John Harbaugh? Is it time for a new era in Miami? And who would you like to see paired with Harbaugh as GM if the Dolphins make this move? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the next video on your screen right now for more exclusive Dolphins coverage. This story is far from over, and we'll be here every step of the way.